Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of AskDr.Wu. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions pertaining to college and college sports and getting my athlete or son, daughter to a college level, talent level. And I think we need to have a discussion about talent and work ethic. I think talent at a college level is the same. I think what makes a difference in an athlete is work ethic. Now, if you're thinking that your athlete is on the trajectory of being a college athlete and trying to get scholarships and so on and so forth, I think that we start that conversation a little too late. If we're starting that conversation at 16, 17, we're definitely late. You need to have this conversation at 12, 13, or 14, okay? If you have that drive, if you have that goal of being there, you need to start to have that talk at 12, 13, 14. You got to be serious about this talk at 12, 13, or 14. What are the things that I've seen from the back end of high-end athletes getting those scholarships? Well, the things that are in common amongst all of those athletes is work ethic. Yes, of course, talent is important, but I think we overrate talent and we underestimate and we underrate work ethic. Work ethic is so important, right? I don't care whether or not you're talented. I care whether or not how hard you work, because at the end of the day, that's going to be the deciding factor. At that level, everybody's kind of the same, whether or not to choose. A coach is going to really look for, and when I talk to coaches, they're looking for the hardest working, most resilient, longevity type of athlete. The one that's going to be consistent, the one that's going to be reliable. I'd take a full team of reliable and consistent players than one really, really talented player. Now, how do we develop that? We develop that by exerting change in behavior at around age 12, 13, or 14. And we start to get into routines, and we start to get into educating our athletes on how to maintain our bodies, and that being with sleep, that being with nutrition, and that being with doing things outside of your particular sport, which could and does not exclude, for sure, the weight room. What I find the biggest jump for my kids is that when they go from age 16, 17, where they have like kind of a little bit exposure to the weight room, but then they go into a Div 1 program, is they are all of a sudden doing 2-a-day practices, and they have games, and on top of that, they have time that they have to spend in the weight room. Their strength coach wants them to do a certain program. Where they get broken is not where the practices start. They get broken, and not even necessarily the weight room. They get broken on the sheer amount of work that they're putting their body into, right? Because now they have 2 practices and they have another 2 hours in the weight room. Their body's not adapted to that. You don't adapt to that type of work in 3 months. You adapt to that work over several years. So you have to actually reverse engineer that and start that at an earlier age, which is around 13 or 14. Now, am I saying that they need to be gym rats at age 13, 14? Absolutely not. But they should have some exposure into the weight room and understanding that work ethic and that type amount of work that is needed to get to that level. You need to start to create work capacity at that early age, and if you don't, then you're just going to break your athlete on the end game, which is kind of, to me, is more of a shame. Which is, they're talented, they may have the drive, they have that goal, but they just aren't able to get to that work capacity, either because they didn't start early enough, or eventually what always happens is they get injured because their body's not able to take on that work capacity. So my main principle, or my main statement here that I want you to, my takeaway that I want you to take away from this talk, is that you have to actually start, the work capacity work earlier. You have to start at like age 13, 14. You can't wait until you're 16 or 17, or you can't wait until you verbally agreed to a college and then start working into it. You have to work before that. And that is going to make it the easiest transition to get to that goal, and then while you're there, not break down. Alright guys, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Give me a text, call. All my social media is going to be over here. Hopefully that helps, and move free, humans.